Hello, this is Daniel, and welcome to another AutoFlex Connect settings tutorial video. Today I'm going to be looking at the feed loop and all the different settings that are associated with it. There's a few different ones to go through, but let's just hop right into our icon here and go to the main settings page. In here we can select our mode. So we've got two different types. We've got a schedule and we've got a duty cycle. If we go into the duty cycle, you can see it's a normal duty cycle like with a relay, where you have your start and end times, and then you've got your on duration and your off duration. Pretty simple stuff. If you're looking to run it on a schedule rather, then we can select the schedule mode, and then we'll need to select a schedule here. I've already created a feed schedule that feeds 4 times per day, so I'm going to go ahead and select that from my list. And here we can now see we've got our feed schedule put in here. If you want to see how to create a relay schedule, I do have a video on that, and I'll leave a link for that in the description down below. Let's just go ahead and save that. And then let's talk about a couple other settings that are down here on the bottom. So first up is this one with an A. So this is our fill management settings. Basically, this is measuring the current of the chain disk motor. So as the auger motor moves feed onto the chain disk system, that weighs it down, which makes the chain disk motor work harder, which draws more current. At a certain point, you're not going to want to keep adding feed onto the chain disk system until some of it has been removed. So what you will need to do is enter in the amps at which you want your auger motor to turn off. And now remember, these amps, that is the amps of the chain disk motor. So we're measuring the chain disk motor here, but what we're turning on and off is the auger motor. So right now how we have it at 7 amps, the auger motor will turn off. When the chain disk motor is at 7 amps, the auger motor will turn off. I'm going to up the delay here a little bit to, let's do 5 seconds. And that's so just if there's a quick spike in the chain disk current, that it won't right away stop, but we need 5 complete seconds in a row where it's at least 7 amps for that fill motor to turn off. And then here, I'm going to drop this down to, you know what? No, we'll keep it at 4.5 amps. So once some of that feed has been removed from the chain disk and that motor drops down to only drawing 4.5 amps, then our auger motor is going to turn back on, and it's going to put feed, additional feed back onto that chain disk. That is the fill management settings. We'll just save those. Then next here we have our fill timing settings. So here we've got the delay when the system first starts up. How many minutes do we want to wait while the chain disk system is running before we start the auger up? And then as well, we've got a stop delay. So how long do we want to wait for it to stop? And then we also have a proximity ignore delay. And so that's on the startup. How many seconds do you want to wait before you check that proximity sensor to see if there is excess feed there that is gonna, stop your system. I'm gonna up that prox ignore to 30 seconds, and I will just keep these as a minute delay on the start and stop. We'll save those settings, and we will go back to the main menu. We will take a look at the alarm settings, because that is also a big part of the feed loop. So we've got safety 1 and safety 2, and these, if we go into our alarm settings, have open alarm, closed alarm, or no alarm, and then the alarm delay, how many seconds the open or closed needs to be happening for it to actually alarm. So these ones, I will actually just switch over to no alarm, because in this circumstance, I am saying that these are single phase motors. And with the single phase motors, then we are not actually using these safety 1 and safety 2 alarms. Those are for 3-phase systems. We've got our feed proximity. This one doesn't have an alarm. It's just whether the loop, chain disk loop, is empty or full. So we'll leave that. Then we've got our chain safety. These alarm settings, again, it's just open or closed, and that's going to be dependent on your motor setup. So you'll just have to check that and see if you should set it as open or closed. You can set your alarm delay. I would have it right at 0, because if you're opening things up, you want this to alarm right away. So that is good like that. So then the final thing is we've got some alarms for the motors themselves. So we've got our feed loop relay, if we go into our alarm settings here, and we've got a low amperage and high amperage alarm. And this alarm delay, you can see there's a little line here. This alarm delay is for the low amperage. So you can put in some delay in seconds of how many seconds you want to wait before this will trigger. I believe the high amperage alarm triggers right away. And so again, these settings are going to be very dependent upon the motor that you are using for your chain disk system or loop. At what point you want either your low or your high amperage to alarm. So I will leave those settings as they are. And then finally, we've got our fill relay or our auger relay. And same thing, where we've got our low amperage alarm and as well as the delay, and then the high amperage alarm. And I will just note that both a low amperage and high amperage alarm for the feed loop system will cause the system to go into manual override and override as off, and it will stay there until you manually come into the system and clear out the alarms, which is this button here. Yes, you want to clear the alarms, return to normal operation. We would say yes. And then it would go back into automatic mode and start running again. So the way it works, just for safety, if the amps have dropped, it's not going to switch back on into automatic. It's going to stay manually overridden, alarmed, and off until you come in and start it up again. So that is the feed loop. Have a good day, and I will see you guys in the next one.